Okay, this question comes up a lot with my students. Tom, how high do I want to toss the ball for my serve? Do I want a high toss? Do I want a low toss? Where's the optimum toss for power and consistency? Let me start off by saying you don't want a toss that's too high and you don't want a toss that's too low. You want a toss that's just to the peak of your reach. Now, you don't see this a lot on the ATP Tour and the WTA Tour. Most of the tour players are tossing higher than they really have to. Although there are some players now, especially on the men's side, who are now tossing just to the peak of their reach. And they're still hitting the ball $140, consistently $120. And remember, if you hit it on the line at anything over 110, you've probably got an ace. So, speed sometimes is not the issue with aces, it's more the placement. But there are many players now. You look on the ATP Tour, you've got the Bryan brothers, you've got Alexander Dolgopolov, you've got Nick Kyrgios, Dustin Brow. Not that well known, but he also just tosses to the peak of his reach. So the reason the peak of the reach is better for you and even for pro players is very simple. See, when you toss the ball out of your reach, so let's say right now the racket is to the peak of my reach on the serve right there, okay? So the racket right now is at the peak of my reach. If I toss the ball way up here, I have to wait for the ball to come down into my hitting zone, which is right here. Now, when the ball reaches the peak up here on a high toss, it starts to drop at the rate of gravity, and it picks up speed as it's dropping. So what happens is, by the time the ball reaches your hitting zone, the ball is moving fast. So it's going through your hitting zone very fast, giving you actually less time to hit the ball. It's been proven by my mentor, Vic Braden, that when you toss to the peak of your reach, you actually have 10 times more time to hit the ball. And Vic used to do that. He'd toss the ball just to the peak of his reach and smack it. And he never looked rushed. He wasn't rushed because you have more time. The other thing about tossing just to the peak of the reach is that your motion does not tend to slow down. When you toss the ball way out of your reach and you see these guys go into all these trophy positions and everything, their racket is slowing down. In my opinion, when you serve, you want that racket to be picking up speed. It's a continual motion where the racket is continually getting more and more speed, so at the moment of contact, you've got the optimum speed. So there's other reasons. When you toss the ball out of your reach or too high on windy days, it makes it more difficult. I've been saying for years that Maria Sharapova needs to lower her toss. I mean, she double faults when she's under pressure with her serve. She doesn't have the confidence she needs in that serve. And I seriously think if she lowered the toss just to the peak of her reach, she'd get more confidence. She also needs how to develop more topspin with her serve, but that's another story. But anyway, the peak of the reach is where you want to toss. You don't want it too high, you don't want it too low, you want it just to the peak of your reach where you're stretched out and your racket is moving at optimum speed. So there's a lot of guys out there now on the ATP Tour that are doing it, and on the WTA I see some of the women also are starting to do it as well. So it's good to see this come around because I mean, even a small guy like Alexander Dolgopolov, he's 5'11", 157, his serve has topped out at 140. Okay, a small guy like that, I mean, he's not that small, but hitting 140 and just with a toss to the peak of his reach. So it proves that it works, and that's the bottom line results. Let me just demo a few and I'll show you. The thing you want to think of with a toss just to the peak of the reach, as soon as you let go of the ball, as soon as you let go, as the toss is going up, keep your racket moving. Your racket's going to start swinging at the ball as soon as you let go, so you can meet it right there at the peak of your reach. When it stops for that millisecond in midair, because when you toss to the peak of your reach, see the ball reaches the peak, it stops for a millisecond there and starts to drop, but it's dropping slower here. It hasn't picked up speed. So that's why it's actually in your hitting zone 10 times longer. This is absolutely what I recommend for recreational players and tour players as well. You don't want it out of the reach. It makes it easier for you. All right, let me just demo a few and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, the key, remember, is to start swinging as soon as you release the toss. Start swinging at it and meet it when it stops for that millisecond in midair.
Okay, notice here I'll start swinging as soon as I release the ball. Now the ball will reach the peak and it drops maybe a half an inch or an inch. Okay, it's getting to the peak. There it is. Boom. So it dropped about an inch, I would say, which is not too bad. It's still in the hitting zone longer. Okay, on this one, you'll notice I start swinging as soon as I release the ball. Watch here, here comes the release, and the racket is dropping fast here, coming up quick. The ball drops maybe a half an inch. Okay, the proof is in the pudding. And if it gets results, it works. Alexander Dolgopolov here shows that toss just to the peak, boom, and he smacks it. Right here in slow motion, ball hits the peak, his racket is right there when that ball hits the peak. He has very good leg bend. His back hip is really down there. That also helps him get the power. He's hitting 140. Averages 116.
Okay guys, if you like this video, please hit the like button. That's going to help me out. Also subscribe to get any future videos that I do. And click up here in this corner if you'd like my free serve course. It's a very good course. It's really going to help you with your serve. So click right up here for that free course. Leave any questions or comments below. All the best. We'll see you next time. Take care.